Hello. Today we're going to learn, or we're going to get introduced to the Sefer Horeb by Shimshon Hirsch. Our guest today, if you can see a different setting, is the beautiful town of Rosh Pinah, where I am away for a few days, together with my wife. And today I wanted to, in the video highlights, I wanted to point to two specific parts which stuck out by me. Okay, the first, which is not even the sefer itself, but is the introduction to the sefer. And as I mentioned in the notes, I think the introduction, even for someone who's not looking to conquer the whole sefer of Horeb right now, even though sefer Horeb doesn't have to be swallowed in one piece, you can learn it mitzvah by mitzvah. But I think the introduction even stands on its own and is a beautiful piece on its own. And the first thing I wanted to point to is the humility of Torah. Okay, Rav Hirsch, who's a giant, is probably can be pointed to as the forerunner of modern orthodoxy, not simply because of his thought, but because of his timing. He really stands there at dealing with the issues of Torah as it confronts new ideas in Judaism, new foreign ideas as they start to make their way or affect Yahadus during the 1800s, during the tkufa of enlightenment and assimilation, and as we're exposed to the world. So he's the father of modern orthodoxy, if not simply because he is one of the first personalities to confront the question of our Torah and modernity and modern ideas. And in it, I think in the introduction, the first thing which jumps out at me is Rav Hirsch's overwhelming humility. Now, it's a humility which is necessary for the role he plays, because he dafka plays the role of talking about the importance of our learning Torah. When I say learning Torah, not just learning halacha, not just reading halacha, but us being involved in halacha, us understanding halacha, not just halachic psak, but appreciating what halacha has to teach us. If I can go to, I know I'm doing the sefer of Horeb now, but to an essay of Rav Hirsch's in collected writing, which will give a little bit of a window, his collected writings when he talks about Kabbalah Satorah. And there, he talks about the fact that Yadus is not a classic paradigm of a religion, in the sense that the Ikar of Torah is not about us searching to the heavens and trying to capture HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or try to grasp HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or even trying to reveal HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we see in the Rambam and as we see in the Kuzari. He takes a different approach. He says Torah is about here. Torah is about this world. But it's about accepting HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the person who created the world and therefore knows and is teaching us how to make our world kadosh. To a certain extent, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not the object of our Torah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our partner and our teacher in us creating a world of Torah. Okay? In that sense, the relationship is very different. It's not that Torah is our partner for us to reach the object of Hashem. It's that Hashem is our partner and our teacher for us to reach the object, which is an applied Torah of the world, which is a holy world. Okay? And in that sense, even the object is not even us. It's a holy world. If in the Rambam it's about us and how do we become more holy, so to the Rav Hirsch, us being holy is a byproduct, or is an adjective, or is a description of our being in and creating a holy world. A holy world meaning a world guided by the precepts, the sensitivities, the outlooks of holiness which HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches us. So the paradigm is very different. The paradigm is completely different. The role of us is different. The role of Torah is different. The role of Hashem is different. And in that sense, it's very important what we understand and what we see We have to be involved in seeing and understanding, not just doing. Doing covers just the limit of that action. Mishnah Berurah covers a certain degree and a certain extent of activities. But the lessons which we learn from that halacha now extend to everything, which means we have to be involved. If we're involved, comes Rav Hirsch in his Akdama and says the fact that we realize we're involved in something which depends on our eyes, and our eyes will always be subjective, because it's always going to be based on what we've experienced, what we've seen, and what we've learned, or what we've been willing to learn, or willing to see. He says, therefore, we have to approach it with humility, but humility which applies in two ways. Humility to Torah, which means that we have a responsibility to Torah. We have a responsibility to learn Torah. Humility does not simply mean passivity and inaction and saying we don't know anything. Humility also demands from us responsibility and says, "B'makom she'ein ish chayav li'et ish." You must learn it. You must be part of that Masorah. You have a responsibility to that Torah. That comes from humility. But also being able to say, as someone who, once they see something, also says, but I don't know. Lefianios daiti. Please come and teach me more. Tell me if there is something, add to what I've said. That Rav Hirsch, in his greatness, in his introduction, says, I'm starting the discussion. Please add to it. Please tell me where I've gotten something wrong. Please tell me what you can add and learn. I'm just trying to continue that discussion of Masorah. I think the humility and the lesson of humility of Rav Hirsch on the two sides of responsibility to Torah, but also the humility to say, but I don't own that Masorah on my own. I'm just a part of that Masorah. I think that part is amazing to anyone who teaches and anyone who learns Torah, because we're always struck between that conviction to what we believe, because we have to have conviction and not have apathy, but also the humility and say at the end, I must do what I think, but I realize it's what I think. Okay, that's the one piece which stuck out to me very strongly. Another piece which stuck out is when he gets to avoda, he gets to the role of tefillah. And there he builds a model where he says, our tefillah, and to a certain extent our learning Torah, any time that we pull out of the world, it's for a purpose. He says, our goal is never to be out of the world. Our goal is to apply Torah to the world. But we must pull out of that world every now and then, whether it's for tefillah, whether it's for limud Torah. We must pull ourselves into the base medrash, pull ourselves, and not for 1 year of our life or 2 years of our lives. Constantly, every day, there must be a time of the day when we pull ourselves out of that world in order to be able to meditate on the words of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, gain strength. He says the world out there is draining. It's distracting. It is the playground of our Torah. It is the area where we apply Torah. It is the area where we apply our Weltanschauung, our world outlook. It is the goal. It is ultimately the measure of ourselves as an Oved Hashem. But it requires us to pull out of us to gain the energy, the direction, the understanding, the appreciation, so that we can do it. Okay, if we can give two types of examples, whether it's an example of tefillah, which he says, which I pointed in the Davar Shatu Chalakaimo. He says, sometimes we think that the kiyum of Kriyat Shema, okay, is when we say Kriyat Shema, and that the kiyum, what the mitzvah is the mitzvah of Kabbalas Ol Malchut Shamayim. But this is done in perfect Rav Hirschian way. He says, Kriyat Shema teaches us the concept of Kabbalas Ol Malchut Shamayim, of accepting the commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, the mitzvah of tefillah is that which ingrains it in us. The avodah of tefillah is what ingrains it in us. But the ultimate goal is the lesson of Kabbalah Sol Malchut Shamayim, which happens when we walk out of tefillah. If when we walk out of tefillah, if we can give an example, right, and this is a classic example for a Hirschian or for someone from the classic Hirschian community, where the Erlicha Yid, okay, is the ultimate measure of tzidkus. Okay, even though in davening in the morning, in Shachris in the morning, I accepted upon myself Kabbalah Sol Malchut Shamayim, the actual kiyum of Kabbalah's Ol Malchut Shamayim, of that theme, comes when I'm standing there at work and a questionable business option comes up, and it's something which everyone does, and it's a corner which everyone cuts. But I say, no, it's not appropriate. It's not the way of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not the guidance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I have that conviction at that point. It says that is a kiyum of Kabbalah Sol Malchut Shamayim. I will not be able to do it and accomplish it if in the morning I don't declare it. So the mitzvah, the local mitzvah of tefillah, happens in the morning. But the effect, the lesson, the message of tefillah happens after I walk out of that base medrash later on. Okay? That ultimately is a classic type of example. But that'll apply true all of it. That'll apply true by ribus, by halachas of Chosh and Mishpat. He says halachas of Chosh and Mishpat are not technical, and they're not to make the world work in a more convenient way so that we don't fight. It's not to avoid machlokes. So the halachos of Chosh and Mishpat are to teach us truths of how we can be more just in the world. Okay? So at Hashem, we should be matzliach, not only learning Divrei Hashem, but applying Divrei Hashem in everything we do.